Hello, hello, hello. How are you, friends? Welcome to this new video tutorial. Today I'll be explaining how to configure your Mikrotik router from scratch. Of course, we'll be doing this video using version 7 of RouterOS. So let's get started. We open our browser and go to the manufacturer's website, Mikrotik.com. And here we can see several sections, one for hardware and another for software. First of all, I'll go into the hardware section to show you the device we're going to configure today. Here you can see all the new Mikrotik products listed like this. You can see the Ethernet routers, which are all these here. Here are the switches, all of these. Then we have the wireless system section, where Mikrotik presents all the devices, the CPE devices to receive wireless internet at home or at a client's location, to make point-to-point or point-to-multipoint links, and further down. Here we have the section wireless for home and office. And the device we're working with today is the HAP AC2. Let's go to Gallery. This device has 5 gigabit Ethernet ports. We can see the front, and this is the back. In the specifications, under wireless information, we find a 2.4 gigahertz wireless interface, Wi-Fi 4 technology, and it also has a 5 gigahertz wireless interface, Wi-Fi 5 generation. The first thing we'll do in this video is configure the wired internet ports and finally the wireless interfaces. Let's go to the software section. We need to download Winbox. They offer two options, Winbox 64-bit and Winbox 32-bit. In my case, my Windows operating system is 64-bit, so I'll download that one. And I'll save it to my desktop. This Winbox is an executable used to manage and configure any Mikrotik device with RouterOS graphically. My computer is currently connected to the internet via Wi-Fi, but I'm going to disable it to disconnect from the internet and focus on the wired network card. My main card will be connected to port Ether 5 on my router. So I'll double-click here and make sure it has automatic IP and automatic DNS. I'll click OK here. Perfect. I'll minimize this. Now I'll open Winbox. I'll double-click it to run it. Here, in the Neighbors tab, if I click Refresh, it will update the device information. Here we can see the MAC address, the device's IP address, the identity, the RouterOS version. It also shows the board's nomenclature and the uptime, which updates periodically. You might wonder why double information appears, and this happens because the device supports both IPv4 and IPv6. what I need to do is select the Mac. The login is admin, and the password should be blank. But on some new devices, the password is different, and you can find it on the physical label under the router. Also, make sure these 4 checkboxes are enabled and click Connect. All right, here we have the device, but normally Mikrotik routers come with a basic default configuration, and I don't want that configuration right now because I want the device completely blank from scratch. So my recommendation is to go to New Terminal and reset your device with the following command. System reset configuration. No, then yes. And press enter. Here it asks if I want to reset. Yes or no. Yes. And enter. This will wipe the device completely, and afterwards I should log in again. So a disconnection will occur, which is totally normal and takes a few seconds. Since it doesn't reconnect automatically, I'll close this window, and in the background window, I'll just click refresh. Notice the IP address is 0.0.0.0, and it says the device has been up for 33 seconds. I select the Mac, the user is admin, the password should now be blank because I just reset it. Okay, so I'll click Connect, and I'm inside the device. The first thing Mikrotik asks for in RouterOS version 7 and up is to change the password. I'll set a default password here, for example, a simple one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Confirm the password. 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, this password isn't secure, but if you're putting your router into production, you should use secure passwords so your device isn't vulnerable. So I'll change it now. And here it asks, do you want to see the software license? That's not relevant right now, so I'll say no. And now our device is ready to start configuration. So the first thing we'll do is configure all the wire connections on port Ether 1. That's where the internet provider is connected, the modem from my provider that gives internet to my Mikrotik router. I have it connected to Ether 1. If I go to interfaces, you can see it here. It's this one plugged in, and on Ether 5, my computer is connected. So let's go to System Identity and set the device name. You can use your personal name or your company's name. In my case, I'll name it NLink IT. And at the top, you can see the device name now appears as NLink IT. Notice this device has 5 Ethernet ports, but also 2 wireless interfaces. One is WLAN 1 and the other is WLAN 2, as I showed you in the device specs. This device has a wireless card that works at 2.4 GHz and another at 5 GHz. So I'll enable both wireless cards to have all the hardware active. And what I want to do initially is configure a virtual interface called a bridge. Why? So that within that bridge, these ports I'm indicating are included, so that any configuration I apply to the bridge is inherited by ports 2, 3, 4, 5, WLAN 1, and WLAN 2. In other words, what I set up on the bridge also applies to each port, greatly simplifying our configuration. So first, let's create that virtual interface. I go to Bridge. I'll click the plus sign. For the bridge name, I'll call it LAN. Click OK. Then in port, I'll click the plus sign and start adding all the ports that will be part of the bridge. In this case, Ether 1 will not be part of the bridge because that's where my internet provider is connected, and I only need this bridge for the LAN. So, Ether 2, okay. I keep adding the remaining ports. Ether 3. Ether 4. Ether 5. Okay. Here there was a disconnection when I added Ether 5, which is normal because Ether 5 is where my computer is connected, so this always happens. I click refresh again, select the Mac, and enter the password 1, 2, 3, 4, and click connect. Very good. We were adding Ether 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's continue. Adding WLAN 1 and WLAN 2 to our bridge. Click OK. Now I have all the interfaces I want included in that logical interface, so I'll close this. Then I'll label the interfaces. Go to interfaces, Ether 1 will be my WAN. I'll leave it as Ether 1_1. The rest are part of the bridge, so I won't label them, since the bridge is already identified as LAN. Next, we configure the IP addresses. On Ether 1, my internet provider is connected and provides automatic IP addresses, so I won't configure the IP address, DNS, or default route on my Mikrotik router, since my provider gives all that dynamically. To simplify, I'll go to IP DHCP client. Click the plus sign and add the Ether 1.1 interface, which is where I'll receive or inherit the IP address. I'll also inherit some data from my operator via network time protocol, like time, date, and zone, which is important, and something very important is the add default route option must be yes, so it creates a route automatically. So I'll click apply and OK, and notice how quickly Mikrotik works. It's already inherited an IP address, 10.0.0.246. I'll show you an IP addresses that I automatically receive that IP address. Notice it says dynamic here. And in IP DNS, I have the DNS from my provider, also received automatically. And something else that happened is an IP route. Notice here it created this route that says dynamic, active, and was received via DHCP and set the gateway to 10.0.0.1. This means the device is theoretically already connected to the internet. And before continuing with the rest of the configuration, I suggest you go to New Terminal. Let's do a ping to the internet to make sure this is working well. Ping Google's DNS, and it responds correctly. I'll press Ctrl+C, close this, and another way too. Ping is to go to Tools, Ping, and here I'll ping Cloudflare's DNS 1.1.1.1. Start. And we also get a response, which is just a more graphical way to do these tests. We stop and close this. Now let's continue configuring the IP addressing. Go to IP addresses, click the plus sign, and set an IP address for the LAN, which is my virtual bridge interface. So I select it and configure this IP address, 192.168.1.1/24, apply, and OK. Now I have the two IP addresses I need, the WAN, which I inherit automatically from my provider, and the LAN IP of my bridge. Now I'll configure NAT. For this, go to IP Firewall. In the NAT tab, click the plus sign. Chain will be CircNAT. Here I have several options, but I'll choose CircNAT. Out interface will be Ether1_1, which is where I get internet from my provider, and in the Action tab, Masquerade. Apply and OK. Good, that's done. Now, let's configure the DHCP server on my LAN interface. Why? So my computer can inherit an IP address. Here, remember my computer's network card is set to automatic IP. If I click Status, Details, you'll see I don't have an assigned IP address or valid gateway. So I'll close. And let's configure this in Mikrotik. It's very simple. Go to IP DHCP server. In the DHCP tab, go to DHCP, click here, run the wizard. I'll select my LAN interface, which is my bridge, and click Next several times to complete the wizard. It says it's finished. Now, in the Leases tab, when the DHCP server gives an IP address to a machine, all the information about that machine will appear here. Right now, nothing is happening. I'll do a DHCP renew via command line, but I prefer to do it here. For this video, I'll disable my network interface, then enable it. Possibly, once the DORA process runs, an internal DHCP process, my computer will receive an IP automatically from my Mikrotik router. Let's check if that happened. Right-click, Status, Details, and you'll see I've received this IP. Address, 192.168.1.254. The mask is 255.255.255.0. I inherited this default. Gateway 192.168.1.1. And I inherited these DNS from my Mikrotik router. The information we just checked on my network card is exactly what Mikrotik is giving us here in the Leases tab. With these simple steps, our device should be connected to the internet. So let's go here. Let's try to enter the Mikrotik homepage. Notice it's loading correctly. Here I have the Ubuntu page. I'll refresh it. Let's try to download an operating system so you can see everything is working correctly. Get Ubuntu for desktop, and I'll click download. Notice the Ubuntu download has started. And if I go to my Mikrotik router under interfaces, you can see that through the Ether1_1 interface, I have a reception of about 100 megabits per second, which is the current consumption on Ether1_1 due to the operating system download. And on Ether 5, which is where the request is coming in, TX shows 100 Mbps as well. On the LAN interface of the bridge, I'll check the total consumption for Ether 2, 3, 4, 5, WLAN 1, and WLAN 2. Alright, friends, this is the simplest and most basic way for you to configure your router. It's also necessary to configure a firewall rule, but that's done in IP firewall under filter rules. You need to configure the device's firewall, but that's not within the scope of this basic setup, since this is just a basic configuration to get internet to your office or network. Now, what we could do next is configure the WLAN 1 and WLAN 2 interfaces so I can connect any wireless device that works on 2.4 or 5 GHz. How do I do that? Very simple. Go to Wireless, and here I have WLAN 1 and WLAN 2, which can be configured separately. Here I can be sure which is which. Notice WLAN 1 says frequency in megahertz is 2412, and WLAN 2 is 5180, so WLAN 2 is the 5 GHz wireless card. But I'll configure both, since nowadays phones and most devices have 2.4 and 5 GHz cards. So let's do it. First, I'll go to Security Profiles. I'll click the plus sign and create a password. Name, I can leave as Profile 1, and for mode, I'll select Dynamic. Keys, and choose WPA 2 PSK. I'll set a password. I'll open Visual Studio Code and type the password I'll use. In this case, I'll set it as nlink IT_2024, for example. I copy, paste it. If the password is visible here, but if you enable the hide password option, you won't see it. Only asterisks will show. So, make sure the hide password option is disabled. Very good. I'll apply an OK. That's done. Now I'll continue configuring. Go to Wi-Fi interfaces, WLAN 1. I'll double-click it. In this window, there's several things to keep in mind. For example, there's a simple mode option. If I click it, you'll see fewer options on the left. And you can also go to advanced mode, just so you know. The mode is currently station, but I need it to be AP bridge. Bam, leave it BGN. Some people like to set it to N only, but keep in mind some older devices don't support N. For this tutorial, I'll leave it BGN. Channel width. You can select 2010 as you prefer. My suggestion is to leave it at 2040ths XX, so the device adjusts automatically. Frequency, I'll leave it for now at 2412. SSID is necessary. I'll set it as Mikrotik nlink IT. Let's add _2.4. Radio name, well, you can identify it as you like. I'll paste the same SSID, but this is optional. Wireless protocol, I'll set to 802.11. And security profile, I'll select Profile 1, since that's where all the wireless network encryption is set. WPS mode, I'll leave disabled, and the rest as is. Domain, in my case, country, United States, installation. Any or indoor, since this is a wireless for home and office device, it will be used indoors. So I'll leave it there, and that's all for now. I'll click Apply and OK. Now I'll continue configuring WLAN 2, which is the 5 GHz interface. Double-click AP Bridge Band. I have several options. I'll leave it ANAC. Channel width. I'll leave it 20/40/80XXX. The SSID is the wireless network name. I'll paste what I have in memory, but since this is 5 GHz, I'll just add 5. I'll copy this and set the same radio name as the SSID. Wireless Protocol 802.11, Security Profile, Profile 1, and WPS mode, I'll leave disabled. Installation Indoor. I'll click Apply. Before reviewing anything else, you can also go to the HT section and make sure Chain 0 and Chain 1 checkboxes are enabled, just like that. Both Chain 0 and Chain 1 are enabled. I'll check the same on WLAN 1. This is essential to check because otherwise the device has less transmission capacity, and the idea is to get the most benefit from the Mikrotik router hardware. Okay, I'll close this. In the Registration tab, the device will show all devices connected wirelessly. Notice that at this moment, there are none. But let's try to connect, so I'll open my network card. Disable the cable. Give disable to the wired card, so my computer will be offline. I'll do a ping test. And notice my machine is offline, which is logical because the Ethernet interface is off. Now I'll enable Wi-Fi. It'll connect to my home Wi-Fi because it's already saved in memory, but what we'll do is click here and try to find our wireless interfaces. Notice Mikrotik N-Link IT 2.4 appears, and also Mikrotik N-Link IT 5. I'll try to connect to the 5 GHz network. Click to connect automatically, and it asks for the password I set, so I'll copy and paste it. Refresh, and it shows the IP address. I'll try to connect this time by IP, because MAC connection isn't very stable. So I select the IP and click Connect. And I'm in the device. I'll go to Settings, zoom in so this is bigger. Go back to Wireless. The first thing we can see is that here, WLAN 2 now shows running slate, which means a device is connected. Notice that in TX and RX, there's packet movement. And in registration, I can see a device with this MAC address connected through WLAN 2, and it's a device named Link IT. Uptime is the time the connection has been established. It's at 1 minute 30, and here I see the reception level and TX/RX rates. I'll go to Interfaces and try. To download something large to see how well this wireless card works. Let's go to Download, get Ubuntu for desktop, and start the download. It's started. And if I check here, I see a rate of about 100 to 200 megabits per second, fluctuating, which is due to the Ubuntu download. But this time we're doing it wirelessly. Similarly, with WLAN 1, when you connect a device or phone that works at 2.4 GHz, it will show as running just like WLAN 2. Alright friends, this is the most practical way I've found to show you how to do the basic initial configuration of your Mikrotik router. I hope this video has helped you, and remember, if you have any questions or concerns, you can contact me. The link to my website and social networks is in the video description. You can also comment on the video, and I'll be happy to reply. Remember to like this video and share it. See you in the next video. Thank you very much.